are again, December 1st, getting ready to do another roast. I'm going to bring you guys along with me. This is going to be a little two-part video here. I'm going to show you my new AeroPress machine, how I make a cup of coffee in the morning, and look at all this beautiful snow. I love it. I want more of it. 12 feet of snow, please. So let's head on in, see what's going on. Alright guys, this is the infamous AeroPress. I got the simple model, not the clear one that you can see all the stuff on the inside of it, just because I figured I don't want to spend the extra money. So, this is what I got. Here's my little filter screen holder. This is my plunger. That's what I'm going to use to plunge it. So essentially how this works is you fill this up with coffee, with hot water, put your plunger in, it's got the screen there, and you plunge your coffee with pressure into your cup. It's supposed to be like a best of both worlds between a French press and an espresso machine. Sort of, kind of, something like that. So, got my little filters here. Pull these little bad boys up. Got my filters here. Just little thin guys. Stick that in there. Let's see if I can do this. No hands. I'm trying not to ruin the audio because I keep covering up the microphone. Alright, there we go. Boom. Put the bottom on. Screws right on. Stick it right on top of the cup just like that. Just like that. Alright. So now I've got some beans here. Not my beans. Some Death Wish coffee. Friend gave it to me. I've had Death Wish before. It's not terrible. It's not the greatest. I'll drink it. I'm not going to fill the whole thing up because I got some beans coming and I'm going to need to clean this thing out. So. I only need about 16 grams of beans for this. So I don't need to grind for that long. And my grind setting is on 4. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. Grind setting 4 out of 10. Or 9, maybe 9. But it's like a medium fine grind, which is what they recommend for this AeroPress. And over here, I got my little boiling pot with the goose snack on it. Makes it easy to pour. She's boiling, about ready to go. So I'm gonna get the beans in the AeroPress over here, get my water, and I'll be right back. Alright, so let's get the beans out. Normally I measure the beans with my little measuring spoon for 16 grams on the dot, but I'm just going to eyeball it today. And that's about good. Make a mess, you know, it's always fun when you make a mess. Can't have fun unless you're making a mess. There it is. And by the way, AeroPress is not sponsoring me, but if I'd like to, we could have a conversation. Alright, so I got my little gooseneck here. I'm gonna pour it in there. Let's see if I can bring you up over here so you can take a look at what's going on. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Pouring it all the way around the beans. Getting all those beans. Oh, let me go ahead and make more of a mess because that's more fun. Here we go. Turn it around. Beans, beans, beans. Not really a huge deal that I get them all covered right away because once I get all the water in there, I got my little stir stick here. I'll stick that in there. I'll stir it up. And it's only just long enough not to scrape my filter. I'll stir that a little bit, maybe 10 seconds. And you can see the water level's already dropping, so it's slowly dripping in there, which is fine. We put our plunger in. Now I normally like to wait a few seconds, give it that little bit of a French press style to it before I espresso it, essentially, with the pressure. And I'll be honest, I haven't had a bad cup of coffee with this thing. I mean, I've used a lot of different beans. I've used my own beans. I've used other people's beans. I've roasted a lot of different beans. Tried a lot of them out of this particular device. Tried them out of my bun coffee pot. Tried them out of my little French press over here. So I'm trying to get all the different methods down, trying to taste every little note that I can find. And I even bought myself one of these guys. This is a pour over machine. So you get your little carafe. Put this on top. Get your filter in there. Put in about, well, depends on how much coffee you want to make. I can go up to 500 milliliters. So I put in about 33 grams of coffee for 500 milliliters. And you take that little gooseneck here and you just pour it over. It takes about 3 minutes to complete the whole entire thing if you're doing 500 milliliters. But this actually produces some pretty good flavors out of the coffee. And honestly, it's a surprise to me that all these different methods, I could use the same coffee bean, all these different methods give me some different flavors out of the same coffee. So I guess it's pretty important to have these different methods. To try all these different beans at different flavor profiles and all that. And mind you, I'm using the same temperature water, 200-degree water out of all these different devices, except for my bun. My bun only gets up to about 187. Can't really control that. Just is what it is. All right, this thing's been sitting for a couple minutes now. I'm going to go ahead and press it down. Put you back over here. You don't want to press too hard on it because you don't want to blow your filter out. Once you start hearing that hissing, you know you're done. And here it is. It's usually pretty foamy. Different beans get different foam levels. I did some 8 o'clock coffee. That's what my aunt drinks earlier. And this was just bubbles out of the bottom of this thing. So different coffee does different things. There it is, cup of coffee. Voted most likely to need coffee. I'm not sure that applies to me, but it applies to some people. Now I'm hoping my audio hasn't been messed up because I'm fairly certain I've been covering my microphone a few times. So let's just hope you guys can hear everything I'm saying. Otherwise I look like a doofus over here talking and you can't hear me. That's hot. Alright, another cool thing about that AeroPress is it's super easy to clean. You run it through the faucet, rinse it out real good, dry it off, bada bing, bada boom. Alright, so today I've got this Ethiopian Sidamo natural coffee by Revo Cup. I got this stuff off of Amazon. Seemed a little pricey for some green coffee, but I wanted to try the Sidamo. I've heard a little bit about it. People say it's got really good notes to its natural process. I've always heard it called Sidamo, but it comes from a place called Sidama, so I'm not sure why people are calling it Sidamo, and that's why I got confused. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, because I'm here. Alright, I got some notes here that I've taken down over the last few days or so, some essential roasting tips. One thing that I have found is that bean density is quite important to know when you are roasting coffee. So I got notes on that. And so there's a scale here. I don't know if you can see the scale. Scale 700 plus for high density, 650 to 700 for medium high density, 5 to 600 for low density. So those are your density scores. Now how you measure density is you take a cup, you fill it to 250 milliliters, which I got my scale here. I poured some water in there earlier already. Filled it to 250 milliliters. There's actually lines on this cup for 150, 250, and 350 milliliters. But when I put the water in there, the water level was just above the 250 line, and I was measuring 250 milliliters on my scale. So I'm going to go ahead and trust the scale and not the mark on the cup. So I put this little piece of tape right here at the water level. Once I got the tape there, I knew where I needed to bring my beans up to. Emptied the cup with the water in it, dried it out because I don't want to get my beans wet because I'm about to roast them. You don't want a bunch of water in your roasting machine. You're trying to dry the beans out anyway. I don't think it'd be a huge deal because I'm going to be roasting them. But I don't want to add any extra variables to all this. So anyway, fill the cup up to the line that 250 milliliters of water made it up to with your coffee beans. Once you do that, obviously I tared the cup, zeroed it out on the scale before I put the beans in there. So now I'm at 250 milliliters of level with the beans. Tells me how many grams I have. So it was 189 grams. I took 189 and divided by 250, which is the milliliters that we use. And that gave me 0.756. And then you just take the decimal away, and there's your number. So this, being over 700, according to the scale that I found, is a high density bean. Which means, when you have a high density bean, you want to start out your initial temperatures higher, because you need to be able to penetrate that dense bean and get the heat inside of it. A lower density bean is going to be easier to get the heat through. It's going to conduct a lot better to the center of that bean, which means higher temperatures, you're going to heat the coffee bean up way too fast and it's going to burn. So, good to know. Glad I know that. I've actually not burnt any of my beans, luckily. I've been taking it real easy and slow heating up and all that, which I think I've baked some of my beans. Baking means that you didn't have the high enough temperature to actually get it through its dry-in phase and into the development phase with a higher heat. So you're essentially you're baking the bean and not getting it through that Maillard reaction stage. And the Maillard reaction stage, which happens in a lot of different food, like if you were to caramelize some onions in a pan, once they start browning, they're going through the Maillard reaction, a chemical reaction that changes their chemical structure, gives it different consistency, different flavor. Happens with all kinds of food that you cook. So if I can't get into that Maillard phase properly with the right temperature, then my beans aren't going to roast right. And out of the 6 roasts that I did, I think some of them were pretty flat tasting, which leads me to believe that I probably baked my beans instead of roasted them properly, getting them up to the proper temperature and all that. And the last beans that I was roasting was a natural, which I'm assuming was high density, but that was before I started measuring for high density. Or density, yeah. So anyway, here we are. We've got our density now. I know I need to do a higher heat here. So instead of taking it easy, I've actually watched some YouTube videos on this particular machine, the French Roast SR540. A lot of people say don't preheat the machine. Commercial roasters will preheat their machine prior to putting the beans in. So the 5 or 6 roasts that I've done, I have not preheated the machine. So I'm trying a new coffee bean here. This first roast, I'm going to preheat the machine. I'm going to get it up to, I don't know, maybe 350 350 sounds about right. Instead of starting at 0, then it's easier to go from 350 up to the 400 range, which is apparently where I want to be at. I still need to research some roast profiles from some professionals, find out where I really need to be as far as my temperature goes. Now that I know about bean density, that's going to be a lot easier. So anyway, I'm not going to roast this whole 189 grams of coffee. My capacity is 120 grams in this machine. I've been roasting 85 gram batches. So these next few roasts, I'm going to go through this whole bag. This is 2 pounds. It's about 907 grams of beans. I'm going to do about 100 grams, approximately 100 grams a roast. That should leave me about 7 grams at the end of it, and I'll do a little mini roast and see what that 7 grams does for me. So I'm going to preheat this first one, see how that turns out. The next one I'll probably try with the same methods I have been, with the not preheating it and just coming up to temperature slowly. See what the difference is between those two. I'm going to roast the whole bag today, so depending on how each one of those turns out, I'm thinking the preheat might work a little better, but depending on how those work out will determine how I roast the rest of the bag. And I might not get through all the roasts today. Might have to finish them tomorrow because I got to take a 20-minute intermission in between roasts because I don't want to overwork my home coffee roaster here. They recommend to let it cool down before you roast again so you don't burn it up. And I'm going to take their advice because I don't want to burn it up and have to buy a new one. So anyway, 100 grams. Going to go ahead and do that now. Measure it out. I've got some my little log here. I got my bean density, the type of bean here, Ethiopian Sidamo natural. My start, 100 grams at 0 time. Today's the day, preheat. So we're preheating it rather than starting it with no heat at all. And then what I do next to my time stamp is I'll write down my machine settings. So what my machine settings were when I started and how they changed throughout the time log. And so normally I'll wait until I hit yellow on the beans color before I write in my log again, which according to my last few roasts were about 2 minutes. One was at like 3 minutes 20 seconds. So I want to mark the different stages of development. So dry end would mean that all the beans are yellow. So I could write dry end. I just say yellow. That's where it's at. Yellow. Beans are yellow. Next is going to be your browning phase when they start to turn brown. Then you'll hear first crack. First crack is you literally hear them crack. And I'll mark that, and I'll mark the timestamp for when it happened. And after that, if I want to go into second crack, that's going to be like a darker roast. I'm not going to do a dark roast right off the back here. I'm going to keep it about a medium roast. I want to try to keep the 2 roasts that I'm doing back to back here, preheat, non-preheat, pretty consistent. So I'm going to keep them about a medium roast the best I can. And log the whole thing, compare my data, and determine how I'm going to roast these next few roasts. So I will bring you through the process. It's going to get loud. I'm sure that I've covered the microphone a few times, so you probably haven't heard some of the things I've said, but I'm not going to redo the video, so it just is what it is. One of these days I'll get a nice camera, and I won't cover the microphone, and I'll probably have a better video quality and sound quality and all that jazz, but for now, this is only my first official video other than my beginning video, my intro video. And I did like a little short. I tried to do a short. I'm not really good at editing and stuff, so it's going to take some time to get good at this stuff, so bear with me. Anyway, I got to measure these beans out, put them in the machine. And I've got my laptop here because while I'm videotaping on my phone, I can't use well, I probably could, but I don't want to mess up trying to do my video, so I need a timer. I need to be able to use a stopwatch so that I know my timestamps when things are happening. So I'm going to use my stopwatch on my laptop while I videotape, while I'm roasting beans, while I'm taking notes, And that's a lot of stuff going on while I'm also drinking coffee, and hopefully I don't make any mistakes. But if I do, you guys are going to witness it firsthand. And we're going to learn together. So here we go. Let me get these beans straightened out. We'll be right back. Alright, cool. So I got the camera set up pretty good here. You can kind of see what's going on. Hopefully you can hear me. I think I got the microphone covered right now, so you might not be able to hear anything I'm saying. And got the cup on here, zeroed out the scale with the cup on it. We're going to measure 100 grams. And these beans, they kind of smell a little bit like whiskey. A little fruity. The last ones I had smelled like grass. These ones don't smell so much like grass. So I'm hoping that's a good sign. That they'll taste better. And maybe roast better. Ooh, close. 95 grams. 97. 98. 98. 99. 99. 100. Perfect. 100 grams on the dot. So, the beans in the old machine. Oh, I made a mistake. I was going to preheat the machine first. So let's do that. Put my top on. This is my chaff collector. I showed you in the first video. Comes apart. Chaff comes up through here. So as the beans are jumping inside of here, there's like a skin on the outside of the beans that's going to fall off. Skin's going to come up through the top of here. It's going to collect in these little fins. And it's going to sit inside of this bowl. This is the top, made of metal, because obviously the heat comes up. It's magnetic. Sit that on top. Actually, the top of this is actually heavier than the whole machine almost. Maybe not heavier than the whole machine, but pretty close. So, let's go ahead and bring you back over here. You can see what I'm doing. So I need to turn it on. First number here is my fan setting. Second number is my power setting. And then this is a timer that you can set up to 20 minutes. Doesn't go any higher than that. I'm going to actually turn my fan all the way down. So press this button. Let me switch hands. Hello. Switch hands here. We're going to go down to fan setting 0 or 1. There we go. Press the number again. We're going to go to heat setting 9. There we go. That's what we're going to start with. So let's write that in our log. With a, well, you know what? I'm not going to start the beans just yet. So we're not going to write that in our log. This is just our preheat setting. We're going to go ahead and hit run. It's going to get loud. Turn the exhaust fan on, because when these beans start roasting, they produce a little bit of smoke, a little CO2. So I want to get that gas out of here. I want to get some of that smoke dispersed so it doesn't set off the freaking smoke alarm, because I've done that a couple times already, and it's not cool. It's annoying. It's nice to have though, just in case a fire actually happens. But these fire alarms in this house in particular, if there's a lot of steam, it'll set them off, because they just detect particles in the air, not necessarily smoke itself. So, hopefully you can still hear me. If I turn this really fast, it tells me what the temperature is. Alright, so we got 359, 360. Sounds about good. I'm going to go ahead and throw these in at, say, 370. We'll throw them in at 370. We'll turn our fan up before we do that. Alright, there's 370. Power 9. Let's get that fan up to about 7. Because we want the beans to move, we want them to dry. Ooh, that's hot. That is hot. See if I can do this one-handed. Booyah, there we go. Alright, drop my beans in. Get my top back on. There it is. And let's see where our temperature's at. 365. Okay, so settings are 7.9. 7.9. Those are our settings. We're at a temperature of, what did I say, 370. We started at 370. We're just going to keep an eye on these beans. We're already starting to smoke. Some of that chaff coming off there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Crap, I forgot to start my timer. Uh-oh, can't log in. I do that sometimes, forget to start my timer. Alright, so we'll just add 1 minute. So whatever the timer actually says, I'll add a minute to it. I do that sometimes, I get caught up in the moment and I forget to actually start my timer. So I've had to add a minute a couple times. But it's all good. We're learning here. And so these beans are actually starting to turn yellow already. We're at a temperature of 390. And we're a minute 30 seconds in. But I still see some green. I'm gonna go ahead and increase my fan to 9, get those beans moving some more. I don't want to burn them. So that was a minute 50 seconds. Minute 50 seconds, we changed that to 9 with a 9 temperature setting. Or a 9 fan setting. We're at 375. Alright, I think we're starting to brown already. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I'm going to go ahead and say yellow phase was about 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Yellow, 2:15. We're at 9.9 with a temperature of 372, so we're actually going down on the temperature. That's not good. But I seen them turning brown, so I had to increase the air. 72. I don't want them to turn brown too quickly and get into that Maillard phase before they get a chance to turn yellow and get to the dry end. I want them to dry first. So we've made it past the yellow phase. Still some in there that are a little yellow. They're popping around though. Temperature's going down. I need the temperature to go up. So I'm going to go ahead and decrease that fan speed back down to 7. It's one of the problems with the air popper machines. They just don't have a whole lot of control to them. This one in particular doesn't seem like it really has a whole lot of pop to it when I turn the air up. Especially when the air is down in the lower settings. So now we're down at 7 at 2 minutes, 3 minutes 30 seconds, 3:30. We'll change that back to 7, 9. We're at a temperature of, okay, we jumped up to 395. That's good. 396, 397. Starting to get into that brown phase. A couple of them are still yellow in there, so hopefully those will change quickly. I'm sure that I've hit dry end. I'm not sure I like the whole preheating the machine first. Maybe they were onto something when they said don't do that with this particular machine. Alright, we've hit 401 degrees at 4 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and log that, 4 minutes. At 7.9, we're at 401 degrees. They're looking pretty brown. Majority of them are brown. I'm going to go ahead and say brown stage has been hit. And that's at 5 minutes 10 seconds. 5:10, we're still at setting 7.9. We're at 402 on the temperature. Alright, I'm going to lower the fan. I can't really go up with the heat anymore, so I got to use my fan if I want to increase my heat. Got to drop my fan, which sucks because I want the beans to move. They seem to be moving okay now though, since they've been dried out. That's one good thing. Once the beans dry out, they will move more. I just don't want them to sit on that heating element and burn. See where we're at now. Temperature of 411. We're at 6 minutes right now. I think I hear some cracking going on. And there goes the smoke alarm. Had a feeling that was going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and deal with it for right now. Nothing's on fire, so we're okay. Alright, let's see. We're at temperature of 416 at 6:45, so 6 minutes, 45 seconds. Oh, drop that down to 6. I guess I should have marked that. 416. I haven't heard first crack yet. Go ahead and keep watching that for me. I'll be right back. Alright. I got rid of that sound. That was annoying. Now we're at 7 minutes 30 seconds right now. Temperature of 418. I would say we're in the development phase now, so we want to maintain temperature. We're at 418. Beans are looking darker. I think I've been hearing crack, but I don't know for sure. I'm just going to keep going with it. I want to maintain that temperature. We're at 418 still. 419. Maybe I'll increase the fan again. Back up to 7. So at 8 minutes and 15 seconds. I increase the fan back to 7. We're at temperature of 9 still. And 4:15, we dropped our temp down quite significantly, so I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. The beans are not 100% evenly colored, some of them darker than the others, but I don't see any yellow anymore. I still don't think I've heard first crack, but I had to have. I might be getting close to second crack. I'm hearing some cracks now, so okay, there we go. Roast is looking kind of dark. I think I'm going to go ahead and pull it. I'm hearing some cracks. Temperature of 408, so we've kind of maintained that 410-ish range for the past few minutes. So we're at 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 30 seconds. I'm going to drop it at 10. which actually dropping it, I'm just going to hit the cool button and it's going to go into cooling mode. Right, 10 more seconds. Going into cool mode. Turn my fan all the way up. I don't think I necessarily need to turn my heat down because it's in cooling mode. But we definitely want that fan all the way up. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pull the top off. That should help it cool off a little faster. Some of that chaff flying out of there. Still pretty warm, so the beans got to still be roasting because there's still hot air coming out of here, so I'm not so sure this is the best method to cool the beans. Sometimes I'll take them out of here when I'm done and I'll put them in a strainer, and I'll just kind of move them around a little bit till they cool off, or take an air gun. I got this little air gun that I can cool them off with. Alright, that's the cooling phase. Let's go ahead and bring you up here with me. I'm going to pull these off of here now. And bring them over here. I got this wire strainer. I'm going to drop them in the wire strainer because they're still hot and I don't want them to continue. These look pretty dark. I might have went into second crack with this. Put this one on top here. I got this cool little tool here. It's like a mini leaf blower, really. Oops. A little too powerful. This helps knock some of that chaff off too. But this will make sure that it cools down. I'm sure it's pretty loud in the microphone, so my apologies. I think that's probably okay. Set these over here. And so there we have it. They don't really have much of a smell to them just yet. It usually takes a little while to get that roasty smell out of them. It's looking like I don't have a whole lot of defects, so that's good. Let's look at this one here. This one's got several cracks in it. Kind of came apart pretty good. So we'll see how it turns out in a few days when I can actually grind it up and drink it. It has to go through a degassing phase. The degassing phase. So right now, there's CO2 that is coming out of these beans. And that CO2 needs to come out of those beans more. So before I actually grind it up and drink it, I need to get some of that CO2 out of there, which takes a couple days. So some people wait 8 hours, some people wait a week. I'm not really sure what the science is on that. If there's a big deal with how long you do it for. Maybe certain types of beans will be better degassed for longer. Maybe some beans require a shorter degassing period. I'll have to do some more research on that. But all I know is at least 24 hours. I've been waiting about 48 hours before I drink mine. But yeah, so there it is. This looks like a pretty darker roast, and there's a lot of cracks in them, so I think I must have missed the first crack, maybe got into second crack and didn't hear it. It definitely didn't help that I had to walk away for a second and turn the fire alarm off. But I'm not so sure that preheating the machine was a great idea. Maybe preheating to a lower temperature would be a better idea. So, like I said, the next batch, I'm not going to preheat. I'm going to do it the same way I've been doing it. And we're going to see how that one turns out. I'm wondering if, I don't know, the first crack thing's really got me messed up because I've been able to hear that crack on every other one that I've done. This one I was not able to hear that, and I got a dark bean. I think I might have went into the darker roast. I don't know, some of them aren't so dark, they're kind of uneven, but that might have been the yellow stragglers that weren't quite getting heated up right in the beginning. I don't think it looks bad though. I don't see any that are like burnt, like black. So, only time will tell. Only time will tell. So, there it is. Finished my roast, I think about 13 minutes. Yeah, because it's a 3-minute cool down. I stopped it at, I started the cool down cycle at 10 minutes, so 13 minutes was the end of the roast. So I'm going to write that down. End, or actually finish. And look at that, I almost made my line perfect. 13 minutes. And temperature, it doesn't actually tell me what the temperature is when I'm doing the cool down phase, so I can't really write that down. And as far as the fan and the temperature settings, it was 9 and 1. So there we have it. First roast out of the Ethiopian Sidamo natural, and I don't think it went bad. It was a little chaotic, a little hectic. We got through it though, and here we are, ready to start the next roast in about 20 minutes because I got to let that machine cool down. So see you guys in about 20 minutes. Well guys, I'm gonna have to figure out how to splice this video into the last video because I was not paying attention and I closed out of the application. So a test of my editing skills will be displayed. I'm gonna go ahead and start this little guy here. This is my hydrogen water bottle. Pretty cool little device. Put water in it. It goes through a process called electrolysis, where it splits the hydrogen and the oxygen molecules in the water. The bigger bubbles are the oxygen, and the smaller bubbles are the hydrogen. So it's going to fill that water with hydrogen. I'm going to drink it, and it's going to make me healthy. At least, that's what I believe. Okay, so I forgot to note something on that last roast there. I always measure my first beginning gram weight, which is 100 grams, and then the weight loss, which, you know, what the beans weighed afterwards, which was 81 grams. So I lost 19 grams. I didn't do the math yet. Don't really know what the percentage of weight loss that is, but that's important to know. Based on how many grams I lost, I would say I probably went into a dark roast there. Not a super dark roast, like just in the beginning. After watching the video, I do remember hearing the first crack probably around the same time that the smoke alarm went off. But anyway, that's neither here nor there because I'm here. And I've got these beans weighed out to 100 grams, ready for my next roast. This time, not going to preheat. I watched a YouTube video. A guy said that he preheated his at about 250. So I was 120 degrees higher when I preheated and sent my beans into the machine. So there could be something to that. Maybe on the next one I'll charge it to 250 and I'll start there. This time I'm not doing that. This time I'm going with I've seen some roast profiles. They said on Sweet Maria's website, they want you to start at fan level 9, heat level 9, and every minute or so you drop your fan level down. And then once you get to first crack and you start hearing more of those first cracks, maybe just before you get to the end of the first cracks, you drop it. There's about a light roast. I'm going to keep going till probably the end of the first crack so that I can ensure I get like a medium roast, because like I said, I'm trying to stick with a medium and a medium with the charged and the non-charged and the variables. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn that bad boy up to 9. So 9, 20 minutes. Charge the machine up. The beans. There it is. Put my top on. Cleaned all the chaff out except for that little piece there, but I'm sure we'll be fine. I am sure we'll be just fine. So now this time, probably won't go through the whole entire process of showing you the video. I'll probably just start it, take my notes down, finish the roast, show you what the beans look like at the end, give you a little commentary, and that'll be it for this video. So I'll see you at the end of this roast. Beautiful hydrogen water. It's actually a lot smoother than regular water. I mean, it's got that nice, crisp, smooth mouthfeel. And it almost tastes better. Leaves kind of like a, not necessarily a carbonation feel on your tongue, but it's like you can feel the bubbles from the hydrogen on your tongue, which is an interesting feeling. All right, there it is. Just got done with the roast. This one was interesting. I actually heard the first crack this time, and I heard the end of the first crack. And I don't believe I heard second crack. I started cooling right at the end of all the cracking from the first crack. So, should be a nice medium roast. Hopefully, pretty good. Keep itching my nose. Sorry about that, but it itches. See what we got going on here. Started at 100 grams. 9, minute 30, went down to 8, 230, stayed at 8, but it started, got my yellow phase done right there at 230. 315, dropped it to 7. Temperature was increasing the entire time, which I like that. Not like this, where I was up in temperature and then I dropped temperature, which I've heard that's bad, that's a no-no. You can stall your roast, which I guess stalling your roast is you don't let it get into that development phase, that Maillard reaction phase. So might have stalled that roast, but pretty happy with these data points here. Right here at 5 minutes 30 seconds, as you can see, it was really cracking. End of first crack, 7:15. You see I dropped the air setting down to 5, kept my heat at 9 the entire time. That seems to be pretty ideal, as I've been able to keep the temperature going up, which there's a thing called ROR, rate of rise, and apparently you want your roast to continue gaining temperature, and then once you hit that development phase you want to maintain that temperature, and then you want to, boom, drop it, cool it, just like that. So actually I need to get this out of here so that we're not continuing for this to roast. And we drop. And it looks like, doesn't seem like there's as many cracks as the last one, so I'm thinking I definitely went into the dark roast on the last one. These are still kind of dark, not completely consistent. Some of these have some lighter colors compared to some darker ones. As you can see here, darker bean, lighter bean. But I'm using my little fan, cool these bad boys off. This one kind of looks a little dark. Maybe it sat on the burner a little too long. But there you have it. 2 roasts in one video. Kind of a long video. I think it's probably going to be like an hour long. Hopefully I can splice these 2 videos together. Like I said, we'll see how my editing skills go. But until next time, be good.